Hello, this is Michael Dennin, Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning and Dean of the Division of Undergraduate Education here at UC Irvine. And this is Conversations with the Vice Provost, where I invite my colleagues in, we chat about exciting issues that are of interest to the UCI community, the state, the country, and even the world at large. And it's my great pleasure to have with me today my colleague Lorelei Tanji, University Librarian. So welcome, Lorelei.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, this is partly selfish because one of the things I like to tell people is the critical role research librarians have played in my life and my career at all stages, whether I was a grad student, postdoc, or as a faculty member. There's particularly, now some people don't remember, particularly in the days when there was card catalogs and books I had to look through.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
But even when things transferred to digital and digital searches, I know how impactful and critical it's been, the role of the research librarian. And I wonder if our students, part of the question is if they really come in understanding that, or if it's something we have to teach them more, and how that connection between the students and the librarians starts out and how it grows and what we do in that space.
Okay. Well, first, thank you so much for your words, because the UCI librarians and the library staff, I think, are the most important asset of the libraries, because really they're there to help support the students and the faculty and help them with their teaching and research. And so I think that what has happened is that their role has expanded. In a very traditional way, people know that they can go to the reference desk for help.
Right.
But what some people might not realize when the students first come is that we've expanded our services, and so we try to publicize that. We have 24/7 reference.
Wow.
So people can web chat with a librarian online, anytime, anywhere. We also have a personal librarian program, which is relatively new. So every incoming freshman and transfer student is given emails at regular sequences about library services and matched with their own personal librarian.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's an amazing service. I think that that's the way they get introduced to knowing that that can be, that we're here to help them out. And in fact, there's been some research done that students who use the library and its services tend to have higher GPAs and greater retention.
Well, if that gets out, you're going to see many more students in the library, because that's what a lot of them like. Is there, one of the things we like about UCI in this space is our research opportunities for our students, right? They do get across all the fields. How, as the students come in, I would think a big difference between being, say, in high school and being at UCI from a research perspective and support the library gives is the concept of sort of the primary sources and availability of that through the library. Is that something you find students, is a new thing for them, and navigating that space is something
it is new
you do a lot with?
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I've seen a huge shift where when I was going to school at university, we mainly did research with secondary and tertiary sources. Okay. And now I'm seeing a big trend where the faculty are saying, okay, we want undergraduates to do original research. We want undergraduates to understand how to use the primary source materials, whether it's archives or photographs or the actual maps and things like that. And so in humanities core, for example, their focus is on exposing undergraduates to using primary sources. So one way that students see the librarians is that they are invited to teach classes and how to do primary research. And we're invited in many other classes on how to use, subject-specific resources as well. And so we reach about 20,000 students every year in terms of instruction. And the research librarians, as you probably know, they're liaisons to individual schools and departments. Right. So they have kind of a specialty. They often have advanced degrees in the particular area. So they are experts.
So coupled to that, again, from this idea of support to the students from the research librarians, I feel like, on the one hand, my kids are better at using Google to search for things than I am. But on the other hand, they may not be better at processing the information and data they get out of it. How have you and the librarians seen that phenomena, and what sort of interactions do we have with students in that space?
Right, because they're digital natives.
Yes, exactly. And I am certainly not.
And one of the things that we get asked a lot now is, I've found too much information. How do I narrow my search? It may be easy to find information, but it's not the right stuff.
Right.
You can do a Google search and get thousands of results, but how many people really go beyond the first 2 pages anyway, right? So I think that's where the librarians come in. And actually, I have to say that our work is a lot more interesting and intellectually challenging these days, because what we're trying to teach the students are, how do you do research in the digital age?
Right.
What are the techniques? What are the algorithms? What are the specialized databases that aren't Google, right? That you need to research in order to find the information that's relevant. And the other thing that we do that I think complements a lot of what faculty do is try to share critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
How do you look at the information, evaluate it, assess it? How do you utilize that information? We call it information literacy, but we're expanding that into data literacy too.
So, as sort of a final question in this topic for any students watching the video, what are some of the best ways? I know you guys do a lot of outreach, a lot of advertising, but if they haven't figured out how to find you yet, or the library or the librarians, besides a Google search, what are some of the best ways for the students to, like, first time connect with the library?
Okay. So that's a great question. Our website is very heavily hit. You know, it's like millions of hits. And that's partly because of the access we provide to online resources, but also we have online guides. They're called LibGuides for any subject that you can imagine. And that gives students an easy way to find the major resources, tips and strategies, as well as a contact to a librarian or to the 24/7 reference service. So that's an easy way. We would like to actually do more things using educational technology to help students at the point of need. And so we hope to be working with your team.
Oh, definitely. That's something we would love to do. So once we get the students to the library, you know, one of the fascinating things moving forward is, I think, library space, right? You know, it was interesting. I recently got to talk to the students at my daughter's high school and went to the library, and the presentation was in the library, and there was a space in there that was actually designed and set up for presentations. There was a lot of study space, and there were very, very few books. And when I go visit colleagues at other universities, the part of the campus they often show up is the new part of the library, the part without the books and the study space or whatever it's used for. It's used for a wide range of things. Where do you see this going? Where do you see UCI? Where are we now in the process, and sort of how are we getting there, and what are people's reactions to that? That's a lot of questions in one. You can answer whatever you want, Lorelei.
Well, let me start with collections first.
Right.
We are a hybrid library where we have both really important print collections as well as access to online collections. And so we still have some very traditional stack spaces that are important in many disciplines where they do research that way and where the materials are not available online. That tends to be in the arts and humanities, but also in areas like there's a lot of interest in global and international collections, and a lot of the materials there are not online, or the archival materials as well. But what we are seeing is that since a lot of our materials are going online in other disciplinary areas, we are able to repurpose those collections.
Right.
And the areas where we want to change and remodel and renovate have to do with collaboration spaces. We have a high demand for group study spaces.
Okay, yeah.
We've created a presentation studio where students can go to videotape themselves and rehearse giving presentations or rehearse doing job interviews, and that's very popular.
Yep.
We've taken some of our spaces, like our Multimedia Resource Center, and that has become a place where not just videos, because now they're streaming more, we're adding things like 3D printing and scanning, which has
Okay.
gotten extremely popular. And we provide a lot of technology that students can access for free by showing their UCI Net ID. And in that way, we're trying to level the playing field really for students who may not have all the access to technology
Right.
that other students might have. So what we're trying to do with these spaces is to create spaces of engagement, spaces where they can access information and then create knowledge together.
I love that. And, it just triggered a thought that I hadn't had before. Traditionally, one thing we did as faculty for the students who couldn't necessarily afford to get access to books was have, the short-term, I forget what it's called, reserves, right? The reserves at the library, which I'm sure we still do where that's needed. But I think, not just at the university, I would suspect a role public libraries have played in general in society has always been about leveling the playing field for people. And I would think, at UCI, where we take great pride in our success in social mobility, our success with our first-gen students, it's exciting to hear that that's still a role for the library.
It is. It's a really important role. We really are developing services that help to support first-gen students, to help support transfer students. With the international students, we host a Game Fest every year.
Wow, excellent.
And that's a lot of fun. Through the Illuminations, we've been hosting every year a Zine Fest. And do you know what?
Can you say a little more about that? I know what it is because I'm on the I'm on the Illuminations board, so I review these things, but I don't think the audience will. So what's a Zine Fest?
Okay, so a zine is a magazine that's like a do-it-yourself,
Right.
that is done by an individual. And it's a form of expression. It's very creative. And so what we do is our team puts together various materials, old magazines, photos, and things that people can cut together and put into and create their own zine on any topic that they
awesome.
like. Often it's about a form of expression, a form of identity, social justice issues, you name it. But we've had a lot of fun in helping students find their voice and to funnel that creativity. Our library tends to focus on academic support, right? But we also realize that we need to provide an outlet of support for students in other ways. They need a break from studying.
Yeah.
So we do have puzzles, we have Legos.
Oh, awesome.
We serve cookies during finals week. We have pet therapy during 10th week. And I think that the students appreciate a little bit of that. And can I mention one
Yes,
other
you
thing
can.
that I'm
Definitely. But
very
they do
excited
need
about?
that, yeah.
They do need the break and the stress relief. But we also, thanks to one of our Giving Day contributions, we've just added some bicycle study stations.
Oh, I saw the pictures of those. You had them, yeah. Those are amazing. Now, how heavily are they being used?
They're quite popular.
Okay.
And I tried it out myself. It's very smooth. I really like it. And what we're hoping to do right now, it's in kind of a room, an alcove room. We're hoping to put up a kind of mural of the outdoors so that people have this sense of, like, even though they're in the library.
That they're studying. So I do want to just touch on one point. I'll bring it up. It's something we do. You mentioned collaborations. And I'm just very grateful of our collaboration in the area of student excellence and building a student excellence center. So it's nice to say it in this public forum that we're going to be partners and sharing space. So I think that's just one example for people who aren't aware of all the collaborations you guys do and how you reach out. So
Thank you.
that's really exciting.
We're really looking forward to having this brand new Student Excellence Center in the Science Library. I mean, the opportunities of engagement, of partnering with you, we're excited. We already partner with you in terms of the writing
Exactly.
center
So we know
in the
we can do it
Science Library.
successfully. So the final thing that I'd like to chat about is kind of a broad topic, but we're going to start narrow. I think we'll go in some interesting directions with it, but it's the whole idea of open access. And for people not completely familiar with it, open access has been this trend that the digital world has allowed, where particularly for faculty research, but in lots of other areas, you can have this knowledge be accessible in a free and open way to the public and to other researchers in ways that weren't doable before. And I think the library is playing a central role in that. I think UCI is a leader in it, and UC as a whole, but maybe comment a little on where we are and where we might be going with that.
Okay. Well, as you know, the UC system passed an open access policy in around 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And to their credit, they were leaders in the open access movement. And so the idea was that faculty members would take their author copy of a journal article and upload it to eScholarship, which is a UC-wide open access repository that showcases faculty research. And our scholarly communication librarian, Mitchell Brown, and others have held various uploadathons. And they've had great success. And I have to say that I have to do some call outs.
Yeah, definitely.
The Earth System Science Department, they were at the very early stage. They approached it as an experiment. How quickly could you upload an article?
Oh, interesting.
3 minutes. And it just took about a year or two for them to upload all of their research.
Right.
Since then, I would say that the School of Nursing, Mirage, School of Social Sciences, many other departments and schools have uploaded their research. And so that's been a success story in terms of being able to make the research available that then, by sharing that research, really accelerates new discoveries. One project we're very proud of is with Professor Jeff Barrett. We did this a few years ago with him. He's a professor of logic and philosophy of science.
Yes.
And he came to us because he was approached to do a biography or a book with another author on Hugh Everett III, who was a physicist, who you may know since you're a physics professor.
Well, I don't know him personally, but I know he was a physicist.
Yes. And he invented the many worlds theorem of quantum physics, and he passed away. But his wife and son took all of his research and put it in boxes in the basement, and then it got rediscovered.
Oh,
and so the library worked with Jeff and his students to digitize them, to make them available to the world for free. And we worked with the grad students to do the metadata. And so when Jeff and his colleague published their book with Princeton University Press, we published in an open access way the manuscripts.
Oh, wow.
They are now available to anyone in the world. His students use them, his colleagues use them. Jeff calls them, because they are a treasure trove, he calls them the Dead Sea Scrolls, really, of quantum physics.
Mechanics. Oh, that's so amazing. So the other thing, though, I know is it's not just, well, this would also be research too, but one of the great things about the digital age and open access, you mentioned before the library is a repository of many print archives in history because they're still only in print form. But I think we also, in a sense, you're the historians of UCI, right? But not just UCI, there's a lot of different things the library is the archive for, and I would imagine the digital world helps with that.
Absolutely.
And how do those kind of interact, I guess?
Yes. So in the traditional way, we would collect manuscripts and letters, but now people communicate on email and through files. And so what we now have are collections of born digital collections.
Yeah.
So for example, Professor Richard Rorty's collection, it was given to us, it was all on hard drives.
Wow.
Okay, so
what do you even do with that?
I know. So we have a system, which is kind of a digital forensics lab that converts files like, do you remember, I think it was called WordStar?
Yes, I do. I actually remember WordStar. That's embarrassing. Okay.
Okay, and this is software that's not available. You probably don't have a computer that can run it.
Right.
So we're able to convert all of that plus email files into a format that can be used and accessed by researchers today.
Wow.
And so we work to make that information accessible.
So I just realized that there is a whole career out there, area for all of our students who love data and computer programming that probably they were never even aware of, which is digital forensics for, I wondered about that. I mean, I know I have 5.25 floppy drive sitting somewhere, and then the 3.5-inch
Oh yes, all of
drives,
those
and then
different formats.
all of these weird formats. So not only like the physical media you have to figure out how to talk to, but of course the program it was written in. I've often wondered about that, and I'm excited to hear the role you guys are playing, because it was once pointed out to me, stone is great, it lasts a long time, but it's hard to store. Paper is wonderful except for a few things. You got to worry about fire, but ink and paper can last incredibly long. Digital is an odd thing. You can store way more information on it, but its lifetime can actually be rather short,
Right.
particularly if the software changes.
Right. And you have to make choices about, well, what do you want to preserve? So one
Right.
of the new areas is that we have a digital scholarship services department, and we work closely with the campus research cyber infrastructure. You
Right.
probably know about it. It was started with the Office of Research,
Yep.
OIT, and the libraries. And what we're interested is working with faculty, students, and other researchers on the entire life cycle of research. From the very beginning, when
Right.
they're thinking about their topic, what kind of data sources do they need, how do they analyze, assess it, how might they publish it, and then how might they want to preserve
Right,
it.
what gets saved.
And so we need to think of it kind of holistically and from the beginning rather than waiting at the very end.
Yeah. Well, this is very exciting, and actually that's nice. It brings full circle, because I said at the beginning how the research librarians have been so critical to my career, and that's something I do think about right now is in my lab, because I tend to do things that are very video based, and we are generating huge amounts of data that we then process again, and if there was something important that we found, like how much of the raw data do you need for future people to know what's going on? So a very exciting full circle idea. Well, thank you so much, Lorelei. This has been great conversations. Again, this is Conversations with the Vice Provost. If you've enjoyed this, go look at our other conversations, and thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. This is the time where you get to be part of the conversation. Comment below, you know the drill, you know how to do that. Subscribe, follow us, look for us on all our social media, and stay part of the conversations. Thank you.